The defining feature of a linear equation is that the degree of the x term is 1. X is raised to the first power. Degree means the exponent. So, in this example, y equals mx plus b, we do not bother to write the exponent of 1 because x to the first power is equal to x. This is called slope-intercept form because m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept of the line. That is to say, b is where the graph of the line crosses the y-axis. Now, this information that can easily be obtained from an equation of a line is the slope of the line when you're in slope-intercept form. The y-intercept of the line, defined as where it's crossing the y-axis, that is to say where x is equal to 0. If x equals 0, mx cancels out, and you're left with y equals b. b is the y-intercept. And the x-intercept of the line, the x-intercept is where we cross the x-axis, which is defined by y equals 0. So if we're given an example equation that is already in slope-intercept form, determining the slope and y-intercept is easy. All we have to do is read off of the graph. The slope is -5/3 and the y-intercept is -2. In order to determine the x-intercept, we have to do a little bit of arithmetic. We know that the x-intercept is defined by y equals 0. So we take our y and we substitute it with 0. We bring the rest of our equation down unchanged. Now we're going to use inverse operations to isolate x, to get x all by itself. First, use addition and subtraction. Here I have subtract 2, so I'm going to add 2 as my inverse operation. I must add 2 to both sides of my equal sign. This leaves me with 2 equals -5/3 x. At this point, I would like to get rid of the -5/3 times x. The inverse operation to multiplication is division. If I divide by a fraction, I multiply by its reciprocal. So I multiply by the reciprocal of -5/3. The reciprocal is -3/5. I've just flipped the numerator and denominator. Any operation I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other. So I multiply -3/5 over here as well. Finally, to multiply a fraction by a whole number, I place that whole number over 1, and I multiply straight across. This leaves me with a final answer of -6/5 equals x. So x is -6/5. This is the x-intercept. Moving on to our second example, which is not written in slope-intercept form. So, in order to find the slope and y-intercept, I want to rearrange this equation to be in slope-intercept form. Notice that in slope-intercept form, y is all by itself. So I'm going to solve for y. First, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So now I'm left with -2y equals -3x plus 6. These are not like terms, so I can't add them. Now I'm going to divide by -2 to continue to isolate my y. Notice that when I divide by -2, I must divide each and every term by -2. I'm now left with y equals a negative divided by negative is a positive, so I have 3/2 x. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have a slope of 3/2 and a y-intercept of -3. In order to find the x-intercept, I know that y equals 0. If I look back up to my original equation, I'm going to see a neat trick. I'm going to rewrite my original equation, 3x minus 2y equals 6. Now, if y is 0, then Negative 2 times 0 is also 0, so this crosses out. And I'm left with 3x equals 6. To isolate the x, I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides, and I'm left with x equals 6 divided by 3 is 2. So my x-intercept is 2. My y-intercept is negative 3. And my slope is 3/2.